Respect the place that you call home. Respect the land in which you roam. Respect the country you were born. Let's take it back. Respect reform. Hold on to freedom, hold on to hope. Don't give them slack, don't give them rope. Don't walk and hang your head in shame. Be proud, stand tall, and we will reign.
Hey guys, my name is Rob Sheridan, and welcome to episode 44 of a podcast, A Conversation with Neil Stevens. Now, tonight we've got some great people on our show tonight. This man you'll know, Neil Stevens,
Can't get rid of me.
Devon County Councilor for Alphington and Cowick Division, and his brother Tony.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm back again.
Okay, thanks. This handsome man there, Nat Vanstone, and what are you, from Broadcliff, Nat? Is that right?
The Broadcliff area. That's
Fantastic.
Right,
And we got a special guest tonight, real treat. Thanks for coming on the show, Ian.
Good evening. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. So, guys, tonight we're going to be focusing on a very interesting topic because actually the title of our podcast is Exeter Needs Change. And we're going to be talking about a really great part of that topic, which is stopping the waste and getting some savings going so we can fund frontline services. Neil, you want to add to that, please?
Yeah, so on Facebook, what I put out was a message. I said, right, remember this is about the community. This is about the people getting involved. So I put a message out. I said, give us some discussion points which you would want us to discuss. Ian came back about waste. I've had other people about send. I've had about the Exwick Afghan cricket team. And I've had other things about parking and weeds and all that. So we're going to produce a list over the next couple of days, which will be then highlighted what topic we're going to bring up. But keep them coming in, because remember, we want to support you, right? You need to get in touch. The message us directly through this page. The comments tonight, we will get back to you, share your experience and concerns. We want to hear from you.
That's great. Thanks very much. And Tony, how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, how do they get in touch with us? Yeah, your voice matters. So let's have a conversation. Facebook, YouTube, we're on all of that. You can text us on 07355 429 205 or email neil.stevens@devon.gov.uk. We want to hear from you. Let's listen to your problems, and this is your platform.
Hey, well done, Tony, for reading that out so very adeptly there.
All done from memory, of course, Rob. All done from memory.
Next time we're going to test Nat and see if he can read as well.
I did it all right last week.
I would help if the information was up there in the
Just
first
a question
place.
before we carry on. What do you think of the little re-image of the underground bunker?
It's very professional now, I have to say.
Oh, thank you very much,
It's
sir.
like being on the BBC.
That's what I like about you. Nothing.
Okay, so we're going to task Tony again, give him another chance to excel.
Well, if you put
Yeah.
up the information, I can read it, Rob.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not
I
going
was
to
looking at my lovely face then.
I'm not going to put anything up, Tony, but you're going to go through, if you don't mind, the comments that people put on
Right,
YouTube
so here's
last
some
week.
comments that we've received. Now, we've got to say, or I've got to say, these are comments we received. This isn't our opinions. So I'm going to read through some. So somebody called Old Robone, which is a nice one. It says, good show tonight. That was last week, of course, which wasn't live, unfortunately. I do prefer the lives, though. So solar farms, don't let them because of use agricultural land. Instead of this, land, motorway embankments fitted free to people's houses for
Can
a
I just-
50-50 share. I think we can get the message
Yeah, no,
there.
but on the solar farms, if you remember the message last week, was with the MP of Dorset. He's supposed to specialist, and I said, why don't you put it on brown land? Why don't you put it onto factory worktops, roofs, car parks, and all that? All right, and he come back with some answer. So easy win is to put it next to villages on Greenbelt. So Reform will not have that. Or
Right, here's
we
one
will
from
not.
Marion, which I've got to read. Exactly, Tony. We do not like being made fools of. I can't remember what I said there, but thank you very much, Marion. I've got one
Well, you
thank
better
you for Nat.
apologise in case you made a fool of us.
Well, I don't know because I don't remember what
So
I
Hey,
if
said.
Tony,
we-
could I just interject and just to reinforce that be great if everybody could put their comments on the YouTube tonight, which is our primary vehicle for this podcast, okay? Just like they did
I
last
think
week.
I could quite
Worked
heartily
absolutely
agree
perfectly
with you
well.
there.
Or we're going to try Facebook, but mainly it's YouTube.
Right,
okay?
you've got another one from Marion. What happened with the young man, 53, found dead in High Street? Homeless, 2026. We have homeless young people, including veterans, on our streets. Something is desperately wrong. And I can't agree with all of you there, Marion. It's something really we should approach as a topic, Neil.
Okay, so I'm getting hold of the veteran reform representative. I'm hoping he'll come on the show. He was a friend of mine. I haven't seen him for years. And if he does come on, it would be quite a good show. So that's, and I totally agree. Nobody should be dying on the streets, whether they're a veteran or not, because it's a lonely place on that street. And we should be supporting everybody. That's my view on that.
Okay, Tony, crack on, sir.
Right, here comes another one, look. Here's one that supports us, actually. You get absolutely nowhere with the council. Glad you all fight back at them. Rock on. Yeah, I thought I'd say
Yeah, we
that.
haven't finished you with them yet.
That's for all of us there. All right, so Marion again, look, she's very good. We're paying too much money for everything. It's us paying for our own demise. Too many open borders and getting back in the back door through Starmer. This is his go, not ours. I don't want to be controlled. And she goes on to sort of explain why. And she also says a lot of fraud in the government, but I think we better skip that one because we don't know that.
Yeah,
So we should have said
we can't
alleged
make
there.
any
No, we said alleged
allegations.
on
We
that
have
one.
to remember it's about local issues.
Right, so here's another one I think Neil can or Nat can talk about. Look, who's building these unaffordable homes in Exeter? It's the banks or their masters. We're getting the homes, obviously, not the people on the streets.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of housing being built, but like you just pointed out there, it's not affordable for the right people, for our young kids growing up in the city, anywhere in Devon, really. I mean, you look at what they're building; they're not affordable homes, and if anybody in the government thinks that or in Devon thinks that people, young people or families can afford those types of homes, they're deluded.
Ian, do you have? Can you add to that, Ian?
Just obviously interesting. I agree with Nat, really. I mean, affordable in Devon is beyond most people, and most people need to leave the local area they grew up in because it's just not affordable.
I agree with you on that one. Ian.
And just a little bit of simple math, okay? Sure, most of those houses are going for about 500,000 or maybe even upward, right? But even if it's not, let's just say 500. So really these days to get a mortgage, you need about 20%, okay? Otherwise, interest rate's going to be astronomical. So 20% of 500 is 100,000. Then you have the stamp duty of 20 or 25 with solicitors. You're talking about 130, 140,000 just to get in a house, any one of those houses.
Well,
Okay.
you need to be able to save first. So, everybody's got to be able to save to get that money in the first place.
or parents.
Exactly.
But ultimately, this is part of the vicious circle. When you've got roads like we've got, smashing up people's cars, they've got repair bills to pay just to get to work. They're getting hammered left, right, and centre, and people are finding it harder and harder to save money.
Neil?
Yeah, well, on the news, anybody watch the news this morning? I think it was on GB News, whether you like it or not. It had one of the MPs on there about housing. Did anybody see that?
I didn't.
And apparently they're making it law. Why we about making it law that companies now, they're going to build thousands of homes. The infrastructure is going to be there. You're going to have your schools. You're going to have your medical centres. You're going to have the whole lot there. But hang on a minute. Why are they making it law? That should be now.
Should be standard practice.
Alphington is a disgrace. A frigging disgrace. Build. Paths aren't done. Children are crossing roads with no proper crossing points. You've got grass verges. It is a disgrace.
It's like it everywhere new. It's like it in Cranbrook.
And who's running the show? The building companies. Who's making the money?
Well, also, Neil, Labour is, because Paul Knott from Exwick's in charge of the planning committee, right? For the council?
Okay, but let's go off this subject now. Flip back, Tony.
Right, this is quite an interesting one. This is going against everything we said, but I do think it's quite interesting. So Marion, again, I think Marion should come on the show, by the way. She's very good at this. Weeds are not poisonous. They've been used in medicine for years. If you start using the poison, people will have shorter lives. Just take control of the weeds. No spraying or poisons, which is quite interesting because, yes, they have been used for medicine, but you don't, if you're going to use weeds for medicine, grow them in selected
Tony,
areas.
look at the camera,
Oh,
not
grow
us.
them in selected areas, sorry. And not on the corners of streets and verges.
Well, I think the point is there that we talked about. Basically, the weeds are ripping up the important infrastructure that ultimately will need repairing if these weeds aren't kept on top of or got rid of.
Neil, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so it's glyphosate we're talking about. All right, one, people say it's not bad to use. Scientists said it is bad to use. It's in the middle. It's a grey area. We're going to revisit this again. But at the end of the day, hot foam costs more money and it doesn't do it. You've got to do 2 or 3. Put a manual labour, it isn't going to correct the problem. All right, if we use any other weed killer, which is not as good, the bottom line is they say this is the best. Glyphosate is the best. It kills the roots. It kills Chinese knotweed or Japanese knotweed. It kills it. So at the end of the day, we got to get the right balance. You got to get the balance. We have to kill the weeds because, like I said before, it's a jungle out there. I love that saying. Ian, what's your opinion as an outsider?
Well, I delivered 4,000 leaflets around Dryden Road, and some of the infrastructure, as Nat said, is unbelievable. Some of the housing around Burnt House Lane, it was literally like a jungle. And what makes me smile about it is everyone passes the buck, and Devon County said Exeter City Council's responsibility. Ultimately, it's Devon County Council's, but they run out of money. They put a little bit of money towards it. It's very labour intensive using the hot water method, and I've done a little bit of research on that. But it needs a solution because it's in everyone's interest to make your neighbourhood look nice.
Right, before we flip off, I would love somebody against it to come on, and then I've got a farmer who rang me the other day, a farmer who says we use it all the time. It doesn't, it's watered down. It doesn't damage the environment. So he said a lot of people do not know what they're talking about. So I'm in the middle. Nat, you're in the middle. Ian, you're in the middle.
Well,
Tony. No. Right, let's get the farmer on. You know the man I'm talking about because he's going to watch this show. I want you to come on, and I want somebody against it to come on. And it is, we are all gentlemen here and ladies and all that. It's all respectful. Am I agreed?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I was in the middle on it. I made it quite clear last week that we should be using it to save our.
Okay.
Can I
county.
just say at this stage, this side of the river, we've got less weeds because the community payback team have been doing a brilliant job.
Well, that's great. Now, let me just add my 2 cents in here, okay? I don't really care if we use chili con carne on it to get rid of the weeds, really. The fact is glyphosate is the cheapest solution. It's used all over the flipping world. It's used in the City of London, Oxford, you name it, okay? It's in use. You can buy it at the range, B&Q. Everybody uses it. But if the council doesn't want to use it, I don't care as long as they get rid of the flipping weeds, instead of coming in on the 8377 on Alphington Road and it looked like Ian Frankum said, is a flipping jungle. It's absolutely ridiculous.
No, I said
I don't really care what they use, okay? That's where I stand. Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony.
I'll do one more, look. One more, which is changing the subject a bit. And it says, we're not in the EU. That was brought in by the EU. Where does the money go to? Well, that's a very good question. Ian, what do you think?
Sorry, Brian.
But
The money from-
Okay, so Ian actually touched upon it. So Exeter City Council were not responsible for the weeds, but they did the weeds. Devon County Council paid Exeter City Council to do the weeds. Does that make sense? There is a little bit of money there. I don't know how much, but they concentrate on the city centre, and the lady in charge, they do a good job. But because most of the people come into the city centre, they need it clean and tidy. And it's not just about weeds, it's bubblegum, rubbish, blah, blah, blah. So the main force is there. If I remember, they had 50, I mean, this is a long time ago, 51 people, maybe 53. They've had the workforce reduced. It's all about money. I've been fighting for Devon County Council to give them more money to kill the frigging weeds, because it's going to cause a lot of damage. And trust me, I'll be sitting there pretty in August, September. I'll be saying, I told you so. All right.
Can I say that wasn't the question, but it was a very interesting answer.
But the money's going on somewhere else. All right. Because we're going to cover that subject in a minute.
Okay, Tony, wrap up the questions if you don't
Well,
mind.
I think that's it, really. I mean, the other ones, sorry, anything smart is corruption. Don't sign up for this. But I don't know what this is, so there we go.
Okay. So, guys, thanks for getting your comments. Like I say, if you're watching probably this week on YouTube, feel free to put your comments in. So, Neil, let's talk about what's been going on in your division, okay?
Yep, in my division, Sydney Road, which is near me, I'm still after that caravan. That is still there. But thank you, Roger. You repaired the scar in the road further down, not because it's near me or in my mother lives in that area, but it was identified. We've been around to various locations looking at whether double lines can go there or not go there. I've had pushback from residents. Nothing goes in place unless everybody is happy. We're not here to move spaces. I've had 3 cases regarding Send. We're going to revisit Send. Send is very important. Tony and I and Nat has been invited to Vanch House, which we're going to take up. I think that's going to be interesting. Nat didn't realise that, but he is.
I know now.
Right. But I've had 3 or 4 more than that cases, and I've written away to the Send people in Devon County Council, and I've had no reply yet. Well, don't worry. I haven't forgotten the letters. I will be chasing you. I've had a few emails as well, a lot of emails, and I'm doing my best. Drains blocked, Southwest Water getting involved. So it's work in progress.
Hey, Neil, what about the little local thing around the corner, the little planters? They put them down one week, and then the next day they're all destroyed,
the plant
right?
is out. So what he's talking about is Dust Till Dawn. I've took photographs. I've sent it in. It's a hazard. It is a hazard. We're going to do it. Well, I didn't ask you. I know you're going to do it. The question is when you're going to do it. The same with the yellow lines in Alphington, Sainsbury's crossing. They said, we're going to do it. Well, I didn't ask you that. I asked the question, when you're going to do it. Do I look like... Well, I was going to say...
Were you getting batted off all the time?
Bad quiz, all bullshit. Yeah, sorry, it's all rubbish. I'm not allowed to swear. Sorry.
Trying to hold them to account, okay, which is great.
Remember, I'm an ex-squaddy, so my words are very careful.
Okay. Over to you, Tony. What have you been doing?
I'll give you 3 things. So the main good news is Isleworth Road. Finally, it's going to go from the worst road to the best road.
Okay.
Work started. I looked at it this morning. They're moving up the road. Looks very smart. Thank you very much.
No, I said do that, all right, because Rob has been itching to do that for months.
It is something that I got a lot of emails about. There's always the people who say it'll probably last 6 months. Well, I don't know how they know that, but either way, the work's being done.
That's enough,
Rob. If you live in Hayward Avenue, you'll know where that is, anyone in Exwick. Hopefully between the next 4 and 6 months, it will be resurfaced. Southwest Water have done their surveys. We've chased them. And I've been informed by Live West, who own the properties, co-own them, that between 4 and 6 months you'll have new roads.
Well, let's see how it goes. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Over to the handsome man.
He says that with a smile on his face. Who didn't mean a word.
You're not as red as me. I have a shower before I get in, and I go red as a
dirt.
beetroot.
It's not a suntan. So yeah, folks, I've been pretty much this week been following up on all the winter issues that were reported via me and my parishes. Following that up, making sure that it's not forgotten and things get done. I've got meetings tomorrow in Cranbrook regards the things I spoke about last week. The car hitting the house, I think on a car hitting the house on 2 separate occasions, which is, there's a concern there with sort of pedestrian safety and other things in Cranbrook. There's also there's three separate meetings in Cranbrook I've organised, and another one on London Road regards a certain gentleman that struggles to cross the road with his dog, and there's no safe crossing place there, considering the roads got busier and busier. And then another one regards yellow lines at the other end of Cranbrook. And once that's done, we've got our AGM tomorrow, and then I am chasing up that fly tip case, which as of yet I've only got a reference number, but we are on it, and I'm not going to let that one slip, because if there's a prosecution to be had there, then East Devon District Council should be chasing that one up.
Okay, thank you very much, Nat. And hey, Ian, you're a long-time Exeter local resident. What's been happening in Exeter?
Well, from my own perspective, I'd like to give a bit of an update on the Dryden Road debate, which is really topical at the moment. The consultation's closed. It looks as though up to 3,000 people took part, which is fantastic. That's 5 times as many as the sham consultation that was done when they closed it. So obviously there'll be a better consensus. What's a little bit concerning is that Hattock meeting that was scheduled for April was postponed because it was said there was nothing to talk about, which I find astounding, given that 2 items were carried over from the previous meeting. And I know another council would put another item on there. But nonetheless, we look forward to the results of the consultation. I do believe that they should give those results, the interim ones, the high level ones. We know how many voted. We want to know how many people showed a preference for each of the options. I get that the full analysis will take a bit more time, but they should be releasing that to the members of the public, the long suffering members in that area around Wantford, around Burnthouse Lane, and they should be sharing with us what that outcome is, because people have invested their time and their energy to actually on something that affects their lives daily. To some, it's just a little irritant, and I'm sure to some of the councillors it might be. But for the people that endure ambulances blocked on their roads, people double parking, can't get through congestion, etc., then it really needs sorting out fast. And 4 years is long enough, so let's get a move on, councillors. Not you guys, of course.
No, I've got to say at this point that I am disappointed that it's been cancelled, because obviously we are some of the councillors that sit on this committee. We can't understand why it's cancelled. We want a resolution one way or the other. And one of the things that we do get is emails from the people like yourselves who are for it being open and the ones who are against it. And one of the things that we did see was an ambulance struggling to go down Bovermore Lane. And I think we see 2 minutes, about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of an ambulance flashing its lights, trying to get down that lane. Now, yes, we can't give an opinion on whether we want to open or shut, but that's not a very good sight if you think somebody is in that ambulance and this could be a matter of life or death.
Oh, and to me, you know, the effort that Ian's put in on this, you know, with 3,000 people, to get a reaction from 3,000 people is a big issue, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it
a
is.
massive issue.
Sadly, in relation to the ambulance, it's a daily occurrence, and residents are feeding back to us all the time. It's the main entrance to our emergency department. There's no other way of getting to it through the hospital.
No, I think one of the things you should do, and again, we cannot show preference on it, Nat can, is put that online, whether it's not online or it is, to show people the problems they incur down Bovermore Lane for the emergency services.
Well, and if it was your mother or grandmother or grandfather or whatever child needing emergency care that needed to get to the hospital ASAP, surely Devon would do what's right and open it back up again for that reason alone.
Well, we can't comment on that, but
Can I? I can.
well, you can because you don't sit on the committee.
Every minute counts.
Yeah,
You're right there.
we have to look at it from both sides of the argument,
Hey,
and
Ian,
again make our decision on the day.
Thank you, Tony. Just a question for you. What's preventing outsiders, let's say if somebody wanted to take the survey from Hong Kong, from, jilting, or skewing the results?
That's a really good point because whilst we're pleased that 3,000 people had a chance to have their say, the actual survey itself, it left a lot to be desired. It asked for the first 3 digits of your postcode, so EX1,
Quite a big
EX2,
area.
whatever it might be, and it didn't exclude. I hope the algorithms can identify that the local people get more of a priority because their lives are affected daily rather than someone from Tour-based cycling campaign who filled out a couple of
So when they filled the form,
surveys.
what you're trying to say is you've EX2 or wherever it is, you can identify where they live. So surely the majority you should listen to, not the minority.
That you should listen to the people
Would you
locally.
say that's democracy?
Absolutely. Decisions made from those that don't live around the area or got a big influence with some certain councillors has always been a bugbear of mine. And
What is the issue? Why is it so toxic? Why is there so much hassle, so much money being spent?
yeah, I wouldn't want to bore your viewers with the stats, but
I'm sure you're not gonna bore them.
But basically, we've got 70 vehicles an hour running through the hospital because they can't use Dryden Road. We've got hundreds of vehicles making detours through Bognor Lane and Holden View Terrace, and the stats, Devon County Council stats will tell you that's the benefit between 1 and 3 additional cyclists an hour.
And it's an ideology. Don't forget these cycling groups and what
I
it is-
have to stay neutral because
it's happening
I
across the
we've
county.
already said that,
It's happening
Yeah,
across
I've
the
had
county
extra
now.
cycling come on and he's really lovely. And at the end of the day, this decision will be made on the time and the date.
Well,
Matt,
it's pros
you
and
can
cons,
still
but
say your piece though.
as Ian pointed out, it should be the local residents largely making the decision, right? So let's move on to tonight's topic. Should we, Neil? Would you like to kind of introduce the topic and then
Okay,
we'll
it's about
kick it off?
waste. So everything goes up. Council tax goes up. Everybody puts their prices up. So it's like a vicious circle. So the way I look at it, your wages go up, but everything else goes up. Your food goes up and go round in a circle. And somewhere along the line, we have to break that link. But let's look at our money, which we give the government, the council tax, which we give to Devon County Council, which then gets split to the police. It gets split to all the different departments. Now, it's going up every year. My verdict is the services are getting less and less and less, and that's proven. It doesn't matter who's in charge. We could pick on Exeter City, Devon County Council, but I, as a citizen of this city, feel like my money is not being spent correctly. Now, I put the word out. When we put the message out, Ian come back on and said, I'll tell you why. And I'm going to get a little bit add to that. So the core message is about efficiency. We're not trying to cut services, guys, are we?
No.
So we're not here chuntering and moaning and saying we could do this, we can do that. We're going to dig deep into it. What is going wrong? Because like Ian said to me just now, what did you say? You said, would you run a house, your home like that? What did you say to me?
Yeah, no, that's correct. From the businesses that I came from, and I guess you guys working as well, you've got accountability and you've got budgets that you need to meet. I had a short period working at County Hall, actually, and the feeling I got that was pervade throughout the whole building was, well, it's not really my money. So, in terms of being efficient, in terms of value for money, I mean, you wouldn't go to Tesco for your weekly shop knowing that you only had £50 and spend £65 because clearly you would breach your budgets and you'd be in trouble pretty quickly. But that's the feeling I got working within that organisation, that accountability for budgets is pretty low on their agenda.
I agree, and maybe just to add to that, if you had your household budget, if you were looking at that, and all of a sudden within 2 years, Ian, it doubled, the electric bill. Sort of like, I guess the send has doubled, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years. Then you've got to scrimp and save on other areas. And as a result, the core services aren't being done. So we have to look at everything, and just ask questions. Where is this money going? Are we getting good value for money?
I think the point that Neil made is a really good one. This is not about cutting. No. Devon County Council's got a budget of £840 million a year. If they were 1% more efficient, and I used to have to make 3% savings year on year in the business that I worked in, for example, that would be £8 million that could be diverted to frontline services like adult social care, SEND, and even potholes. I know it's really topical. That every 1% is £8 million that could be used for frontline, not saved, used.
Go on.
I was going to say, you've got to remember, we can't pay it off our debt because we're not allowed to. Yeah. So the money has to be put into the services.
Nat,
and then you touched on potholes when they're going out fixing them, and 3 days later they're open again. That's a waste. Yeah, There's a waste there, isn't there? So much waste.
Yeah. So what we say is, we're not about how much we spend; it's how we spend it. That's what we're talking about. So we're looking at the wastage. So we're looking at SEND. We need support. We need adult care. There's our primary things is SEND, adult care, and the roads. When you walk out that door in the morning, and I'm talking about Exeter now. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about Devon. Devon. Remember, we are Devon County Councillors. It's not just about Exeter, right? We need to look at the efficiency, right, but not cuts. Right, so anybody says we're jumping on the band, we're going to cut it from here. What's the percentage of our adult and social care?
I think it's about 70, 80%.
No, it's 79%.
Well, that was close.
Most near.
Devon County Council's got 10,000 employees and 2,700 buildings across Devon.
I think you were mentioning too about temporary staff, agency staff.
In
the bill for that.
2022 to 2023, £19 million was spent on agency staff. That's without consultants as well.
Yeah, Nat, you're going to add something to that?
Well, anybody can go on Google and Google up the Devon County Council wage bill online. And I downloaded it. It's a PDF, and I sent it to these boys. Now, honest to God, you must have a look at that, because I'm guessing that is only the tip of the iceberg. That's the forget all the other jobs that are alongside that. Like you just mentioned, sort of outside contractors and this, that, and the other. Like, it's huge. But this is the what I sent to you guys was the structure in Devon County Hall.
Yeah, so to me, spending is normal. They spend. Nobody's actually tracking it. And if you want to contradict me, guys, do it. But it's not tracked. It needs to be tracked. You need to be accountable. Right? In the army, you had to be accountable. You had to be accountable for even the bullets you had or the rounds you had. You had to account because you had to be. Right? There's no accountability in that, so it's getting wasted. And it comes to the norm then. Oh, we can spend that, we can do it. And I'll give you some examples when Ian comes on in a minute and gives you his.
Ultimately, management and accountability go hand in hand, don't they? It's got to be managed properly.
But it's got to be controlled.
And somebody needs to put their hand up and be accountable for the way it works.
Because I'm quite interested in the roads and the highway side of it over a few years now with the LTN and the bus plan, etc., and now with Dryden Road. The company that Devon County Council use are called WSP. They're a national company, massive company, and they got a contract with Devon County Council renewed for another 3 years without it going out to tender, and we're talking about tens of millions of pounds invested within that. And let's be clear, they don't get everything right. Look at £250,000 was wasted on the LTN trial in Hevitree. £250,000, which could have, just think what that could have done in terms of bus fare subsidies, in children at school, education. It's crazy.
Ian, I can add to that WSP contract. Now, I haven't looked at that contract. But I have spent about 15 years in NHS procurement, and as you probably know, procurement departments have access to national frameworks, which allow contracts to be awarded, but it does not necessarily give value for money. They should do a value for money test, and you can, with the people that are on the framework providers, most of the frameworks encourage a competitive bidding situation among the people on the frameworks. So, just to call it off to one company is not really going to give you a good value for money.
It wasn't even re-tendered. It was automatically given to them for an extra 3 years.
I'm going to have to defend Devon County Council on this. Right? And people, Devon County Council, I'm actually defending you as, if I am correct, nobody else put a tender in. Nobody else is interested, because Devon is a complicated system. There's a lot of roads. There's a lot of areas. My view, it should be in-house, but then I spoke to people in Devon County Council. They've done surveys on it. They've done investigation on it, and the verdict is it's got to go out to tender, right? But it's not just about that. It's, we have got a complicated system.
Well,
right?
Neil,
there's too many people. There's too many layers. All I'm saying is too many layers. It's a very complicated system.
With all due respect, what's the difference between Devon County and Wales or Cumbria? We ought to be looking at what makes it so special that only one company would tender on it, right? The spec must be wrong. There must be something wrong. Now, it's easy for any of us to be Monday morning quarterbacks and question procurement departments, but these are the typical questions that should be asked.
And have they made it too complicated? Have they made it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm not privileged to know what the tenders are, right? But you mentioned how many people work for Devon County Council?
10,000.
Okay, in the army, if we had 10,000, I bet you there's deadwood in there. Should I say that, deadwood? You always have deadwood, and when you look at deadwood, you need to get rid of deadwood. And there's too many people, too many layers, not enough accountability, right? And when somebody is sick, they use agency work. We'll go on to that in a minute. Agency work, if I'm correct, is double the money?
It's probably that, yeah, because the agency has to be paid.
Something I can't get my head around. I drove through Southern the other day, and there was a Welsh firm, Welsh company, road boys, doing our road repairs in Southern. Now, if a company from Devon can't do that cheaper than a company from Wales, well, put the maths together a minute. Now, there's something wrong there, isn't there?
Right, so let's look at some examples. So, Ian, we brought you on because you sent me a message saying, let's look at waste. Right, and I'm going to add to that waste because I can tell my own story. But I want Ian to... We did have some video for it, but I thought I didn't want to get you into trouble. All right, I just want you to explain what you've seen in your own words. This is not rehearsed. We make mistakes. We walk in front of the camera. It's not rehearsed. But, Ian, you came on here because I invited you on because I wanted your story. And I'm going to tell you my story as well.
Okay. When I left the career that I had, I worked for Devon County Council temporarily, and it was during COVID. And I went on and I was responsible for allocating PPE to care homes, to...
Just explain PPE.
Personal protective equipment. It was masks, it was gowns, it was hand sanitizers. It was everything that was connected around the COVID pandemic. I was issuing it to care homes to keep people safe. I was issuing it to people that send children to school, and the drivers of the vehicles and the minibuses, etc. And I very quickly, coming from a business where every penny counted, I came into a system which saw over-ordering, orders going in each month, even though you weren't using some elements of that PPE, for instance, or ordering the wrong type of equipment, or it not being stored correctly and it not being rotated. So come towards the end of the pandemic, and it broke my heart, I was responsible for disposing into landfill hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of gowns and face masks and lateral flow tests, which haven't even
That's
come out of the box. And you know, I questioned my managers in relation to it, and it was kind of very throwaway, very, oh well, it's date, we won't be able to use it. And I actually persuaded them to send some of it to Ukraine, which I was quite proud about, because I knew that a gown being 2 weeks out of date wouldn't be the biggest issue to those suffering in Ukraine, but hundreds of thousands of pounds worth went to landfill, and we had to hire in skips. We had to hire in the type of skips you can walk inside. I think I sent you some of the pictures, and there was not a eyelid batted in relation to that level of waste, which, coming from where I come from, a private company, was just so wrong from my perspective.
But if it was their money, do you think they would have wasted it? Do you think if they were accountable for that money, do you think? And we're not picking on officers. We're talking about generally the public.
The system.
The system is broken. The system needs to be fixed.
Well, if it was a private company, would they do it?
I phoned hospitals to ask if they wanted some of the equipment, believe it or not. All the healthcare people in our area, we had open days where people could come and collect as much as they could carry away, and we had firms that were not public firms, but private enterprises who could see an opportunity, and we were giving away tens of thousands of gloves and sanitizers. Yeah.
Ian, I'm flashing up a picture on the screen here. Tell us what's in that picture.
That is just everything with that light label, and I had to go through it, and I had to label it. I had to date it to see when it was dated, etc. And everything in that, it's a small section. All of that was chucked out. All of that went to landfill.
Unbelievable.
Well, I'll give you my story, and I might have already said the story. So I tendered for a temporary storage unit. TSU it was called. It was Greendale. Massive warehouse, massive. And I've showed you pictures, and I would have put them on. It was basically stack them and pack them. And Devon County Council has a duty of care. The duty of care, if we have a certain amount of death, the Devon County Council have to assist with that. So it was basically a refrigerated warehouse, and it was really well organised. The refrigerators got put in, we ran it, we had cameras in there, and it was basically, it could have counted for 9,000 bodies. I thank everybody that we didn't cater for anybody, right? But the system was up and running. But what really irritated me was I went down to Cornwall. They replicated it in a airfield. They had these hangars with the same system, different layout, but the same system. I went to Plymouth. They had the same system, right? Torbay, they had the same system. There was nothing together. It was just you're not talking hundreds, you're talking thousands of pounds. And in the end, it was all wrapped up. The refrigerating units were sent back. The shelving was given to Greendale. And to me, this is our money being spent. Our money being spent.
Lack of
We're
accountability,
talking millions.
sounds like.
There was no accountability. Overreacting, overspending, no accountability. So we need to fix this now. And that's just an example, because that is in the past. And I don't live in the past, Ian. Right, but I'll be interested to see on your other life how you would have done it or how you would do it now. And that's to all the councillors.
Yeah, and to me, it's about efficiency. Once again, another small example is during that time, during COVID, I was at County Hall, and on some days, there was a handful of people. And the number of offices, as you would know, in County Hall, it's huge. It's a massive building. All the heating was on, the lighting was on, and there was probably about me and a couple of the porters. On one day, I actually had a look around the chamber before I even went into the chamber to listen to you gentlemen speak, and I actually sat in the big chair just
You
for
were
the
the
crack.
chairman for the day.
I was for the day, and all these people that worked there were working from home, and I heard stories where they were saying, "Well, now I'm working from home. I need my special sort of chair and my footrest and my laptop, etc." So the duplication that must have been during that time for those that had an office but didn't chose to come in or were asked not to come in. And then they replicated that at their homes. You know, that sort of duplication, that's about efficiency. That's not about cutting. That's about being more efficient, working smarter, etc. As I say, every 1% of efficiency at County Hall would be £8 million to spend on children's education, adult education, libraries, been quite topical lately.
It does boil down to the fact that if we don't make savings, there won't be any money.
Yeah, one of the big issues, like you're alluding to, Ian, is that there are no performance indicators, rarely for services that are performed by the labor that the council directly hires. If you outsource it to an outside contractor, they say, oh, we have to put in KPIs. We have to make sure the contractor is going to deliver on time. We have to do this, that, and the other thing. But in-house staff, they don't have hardly any KPIs if they do exist. And that's a problem because, it doesn't matter if the services are performed in-house or outsourced. The public want the service delivered to a certain standard, and those KPIs should be applied to in-house staff as well. What do you think about that?
Well, I can relate it to, once again, I'm going to mention it, but the LTN, for instance, because that money was a grant from the government, people were spending it on overkill, the actual £240,000 to put in a few bollards and then for the consultation. But when I had the conversation with officers and councillors concerned, it was, but the money's, it comes nationally, but it's still our money. And that write-off of £240,000, it meant nothing to them. But once again, if it was their budget, they were accountable for it. It had to have a result on the back of it because it was, after all, it was scrapped at the stroke of a pen, etc. Then I think it would be a different outcome.
Yeah.
Do you remember Queen Street when they put flower pots, flower bed, wooden structures along one side?
Is that in Alphington? Neil?
No. Queen Street. We're Queen
City
Street. City Centre, I think just after, it was between the lockdown, and they put, don't quote me on this, 5 or 6 flower beds. How much did that cost? Remember, it's a wooden structure with a bit of soil in it and a couple of plants. Anybody?
I dread to think.
£500.
50 grand.
Oh my gosh.
What was in flower pots?
Can I have that
50
contract?
grand. I know, because I know the person who actually done it and got the contract. Where are they now? Gone. 50 grand. £50,000. Right, so let's look at. Let's just dive in. Let's go off the subject a bit. Send. It's the same thing. I've got 4 or 5 cases right now. They're getting fluffed around. They're getting messed around. They're not getting answers. They're not getting that. So I would expect we've got a team of people in who actually look at send, deliver send, look at the complaints, look at the review, look at and all that. Why are you in a position where people aren't getting looked after? Do we have lack of people in Devon County Council? Or do we have too many people and half of them don't know what they're doing? I'm going to put that out. It's quite controversial because I think half of people in Devon County Council don't know what they're doing anyway. And they're on an easy win. And people can judge me, I know, because I've had 4 or 5 people tell me that half the people up there don't know what they're doing anyway. So I personally think we look at everybody's job.
To do is
everybody's job
test.
needs to be looked at. Everybody needs to justify what they're doing. You need a work performance. All right, a work performance to know what they're doing every day. Everybody needs to be accountable. We've got too many bloody managers. We've got too many managers on top of managers. All right, at the end of the day, I've seen it. You need to cut this. And that's why the NHS is not working. You might correct me. We've got too many managers gobbing off and not doing the job. Get to the coalface.
I think it's a case of too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
That's my personal view, by the way.
Well, I agree. People need to be held to account for their job performance more, really. And this culture, get-along culture, is what I've found in the NHS a lot. We can't do this. We can't hold somebody to account. But also, when the services are outsourced, Stagecoach, I keep on using that as a great example, is everybody says, oh my gosh, the buses are late. I'm going to go talk to Stagecoach. Well, you should be talking to the person managing the Stagecoach contract. And it's very telling that you can never find that person, I don't think. I'd never heard anybody mention who that person is. Maybe that person exists. But that person should be the first port of call to be accountable for the performance of the contractor. What do you think, Neil?
Okay, we have to be careful here. Stagecoach, I have a very good relationship with Peter. Peter, you've always helped me out.
And who does he work for?
Pardon?
Who does he work for?
Stagecoach.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
who holds that contract to account? Because evidently,
Devon County.
What I'm talking about, the taxpayer is paying for that service.
Okay, but
So
let's break the
therefore,
service down.
The taxpayer should have a representative, a contract manager to manage that contract. Okay,
Yeah, you're
you just couldn't rely on the good graces of Peter to say, "Oh, thank you, Peter, for delivering the contract." You should have somebody from the public sector to hold them to account.
But we have to be very
That's-
careful because
that's
there's no
a problem
other,
with
there's no other
a lot of
contract.
public
There's
sector.
Yeah,
no, other
person
contracts.
would take it on.
There's no other contractors will take it on. And Stagecoach make a 1-digit profit, by the way. 1 digit.
I know. Well,
Right, one digit.
we should have someone on the public sector side to look at these contracts to determine whether or not the services are being delivered or not.
Can I?
No, I'm going to finish this. Not going to finish it. Sorry, I'm going to add my bit. When they start ripping roads up and they only give 2 hours notice, all right, 2 hours notice because the utility companies know that if they say it's special, it's an emergency. So a bus driver goes out in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, he's got a routine. All right, 2 hours later, it's stopped because they dig the road up. That's going to have a problem. The person who hasn't got the money ready at the pickup point, right? They get on the bus and they're fiddling around with all that. All right, so there's loads of issues going on. Right, you're never going to sort the buses out because I think, in fact, we're feedback. We're actually doing a survey right now regarding buses. Go on.
Can I just say that I was coming back through from Columpton the other day. I passed 3 double-decker buses going either way with probably 2 people sat on them. Now, there's got to be somebody that can work out
I agree. Yeah.
what, do we run 6 double-decker buses between Tiverton and Columpton or at certain times?
Exactly.
So when we're talking about trimming money in a business, if you
Yeah.
were running that business,
Look at it, yeah.
you would look at it.
Yeah.
But
And-
we're running down a rabbit hole here. We're talking
Well,
about buses when we should be
we're
talking
talking
about
about saving money.
wastage in
No,
Devon
what
County
we're
Council.
talking about, Neil, I believe, is, we need to think smart. We need to look at where our money is going, because what Nat just brought up is a great example. Because when I lived in Ascot for 20 years, right, and I brought to the attention of Surrey County Council, same doggone thing. There's a bus going down the road, and there are only two people on it.
Well, the
You
bus
know?
company can't make people get on the bus.
No, but we shouldn't be running the bus. Maybe we should be looking at it differently.
But not
Maybe
all buses-
giving
I'm
them a
not saying
voucher
not
for a
running the
taxi.
bus. What I'm saying is cut the size of the bus.
Let's go on
Exactly.
to a solution because we
Put
can
a
moan and
car.
groan. No, we can moan and groan. All right, we can moan and groan. Let's look at better procurement. Okay, we re-look at the contracts. We have to re-look at these contracts, and
We
I'm
need
really,
to have people managing the contracts.
Yeah, re-look at. We need to check for value for money. And my biggest gripe is the taxis picking up children. We were working the other day when we ran Wiltshire Road. In fact, we are Wiltshire Road, Clarence Road, St Thomas. 2 or 3 taxis waiting before the bus, before the kids come out.
Or way before the kids come out.
I've asked the question.
About an
in
hour before the kids are coming out.
I've asked the question at County Hall to a couple of councillors, not ours, but other people. What QSs do they use? Have they got QSs actually procuring jobs? For example, farms estates. When they got to repair a farm, who's holding that QS accountable? When they're getting prices to do up farms, that actually some of them are actually sat there empty, not making money for Devon County. Do you know what I mean? So it's like little things like that needs getting hold of and having a shake up about.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't know what's going on because we're not allowed to go and we're not allowed to see.
Well, Tony mentioned the Run Eyes was Road, somewhere quite dear to my heart. I was born in High Barley Mount,
there we
so I used to
Posh
go in
area,
the little
man.
shop there before I used to go to St Thomas High School, now West
thought you
Ex,
were
I
gonna say
believe.
you went in the pub
but
there.
you mentioned it, Nat's mentioned it, about the quality of the work. So potholes, they're filled in, and then 2 months later they're breaking down, cracking up, etc. But there should be penalties for the firms that do them. There should be, like you say,
There should be callback.
accountability, and say, we're not paying for that. We're not paying that level of price. Or if it breaks up within a certain period, then you're obliged to come and fix it for nothing. Those sort of things that you do in the private sector, are we sure that we get value for money under the procurement of it, of the tendering for it, who tenders for it? That whole area, I'm sure there must be tens
Yeah.
of millions of pounds.
What you're saying is basically one aspect of that. We need to be following up to make sure the service is being delivered. We need to have a manager managing these contracts. You just can't leave it up to the nice contractor that they'll deliver a service.
And I've said it before, any company contracted to work for Devon County Council, their vehicles need to be sign written so there is accountability. Because if I've got a business, I want to be proud of that business doing the good job. Mm-hmm. Why are we seeing so many plain vans and unmarked? It could be anybody. Mm-hmm. Could be travellers going and doing us a favour, but who knows?
Neil, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was listening to you. So it's duplicating as well. We got a lot of people duplicating the work. I think there's too many layers, too many people. We need to be looking in that area. That's what I'm saying. Contracts to me is a big thing. We need to look at these contracts. We need to get really dug deep into it, and we are spending too much. Right. Look at individuals travel. How much are we paying people to travel?
TNS, travel assistance.
What's the subsidies they're doing for it?
Yeah.
Right. Look at that top tier when we do our council meetings. How many thousands of pounds a month are we paying for them?
Well, yeah, and their travel, so their travel expenses, because I'm guessing that on top of that wage bill,
I just
there
think
will
we're
be
overlapping.
expenses
We're
as
overlapping.
well.
The thing was, I had a bit of people actually said, "Why did I publish it? Why did you publish it?" Because it's online, freedom of information. People should know what our officials are getting paid. Do I think they're worth that money? No, I think they should be on a PRP, performance-related pay. You don't produce the goods, you don't get the money. I've worked on a PRP system before. I worked hard, I got paid for it. If they want that money, earn it. Cut the waste.
So, Ian, let's go back to you. As you've worked in a different company, I won't talk about that. If you were now Devon County Council, what would you do to save money?
All of the things that you've talked about, but mainly it's not about cuts. And I'm glad you said that, because people get really itchy and the employees would get itchy, but it's about efficiency. Are we working as smart as we can be? Are we reducing the duplication? Do you both need to be doing that? Could one of you be doing that? I mentioned it before, but a 1% efficiency improvement for the whole of the staff and all of the assets in Devon County is £8 million. So 3% would be £20 million that you could be putting towards the education, the elderly, and the adult social care. Right at the front line, the ones that do the carers that I've met when I was doing the PPE stuff. The carers that I met, salt of the earth, working nights for minimum wage, and I used to see them, and then I used to see other people that worked at County Hall and think, well, I know who I'd be giving my extra couple of pounds to if I had it.
Yeah.
Rob? Yeah, I was just going to echo what Nat said. Also, is a great example is don't, if you only have 2 passengers, go up to Broadcliff, with all due respect, sir. Don't run a double-decker London bus all the way up there and back, right?
Yeah,
that's a great example right there. Take interest in the services that are being delivered and how they're being delivered.
So our conclusion really is, we're looking at our money. We're not looking at cuts to send adult care. And the roads, we need to look at what we've got. They've got more money every year. It's gone up again, 4.99%. So the council tax has gone up. Everything goes up. We're getting really just screamed at. They're going to really rip us off the next few months. Labour's not supporting us, and that's not a dig at Labour. I just think every government just thinks it's an easy pot. But if we look at Devon County Council, there's a lot of people overdoing work. There's no accountability. Nobody cares because it's not their money. They're spending a lot of money. And I just think we really need to dig deep. And if managers want to manage properly, they need to manage the people. Right? If they manage the people and we're not about losing jobs. Right? We're not about that. But if you're not up for it, consultants. Hang on a minute. These guys have been, some of these officers have been in this job for 20, 30 years.
And they still need a consultant.
And you need a consultant. How much consultant did Exeter City spend last year, Tony?
I don't know. It's Devon County Council.
No, but you said Exeter was about 3.5.
No, it was Devon County Council I looked at. And I think it was about 2.5, something like that.
3.5 million.
On consultancies. And as you've seen with Dryden Road, it doesn't mean to say you're going to get a result at the end of it, because they'll do another consultancy.
How much did they spend, you reckon, on consultancy?
It's millions of pounds. Devon County Council spend millions on consultants.
They don't want to open it, do they?
We don't know who the consultants
Let's be
are, by the
honest,
way.
they don't want to open it.
No,
That's your money going on a consultancy when you've got people who know what they're doing on the roads, but they need to go outside to get consultants.
Well,
Can I quickly say?
It's a joke.
Can I quickly say that I was on a committee today talking about libraries, and one of the things they were talking about is they're waiting to see the consultancy and the results. And that's one of the common words we hear on a lot of meetings we go to. Consultancy. Make a decision.
Thank you, Tony.
Don't
Okay,
keep doing that.
so we got to wrap this up, Neil. Let's. I think we could actually use our audience here to help a call to action. What do you think?
Okay, so look, the solution, we need you to call in. Right, we're looking at fixing the waste. We're looking at funding the services. Right, we need questions from you. Right, what have you seen? Right, what do you know is going on? Right, and how do we change it? Because we're only, 5 people here. Right, Ian, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. All right, Ian is neutral. I say that is no political, and we're neutral when we come on this show. Right, but we need you to send the questions in. We will answer them live next week. We will be live. We will answer your questions. I love them. The more controversial they are, the better. Put us on the spot next week. Ask us any question, Nat, would you say?
Yeah, I'm open to anything.
As long as it's not-
yeah, within
answer them,
reason.
as long
as it's not rude.
As long as it's not rude, yeah,
Yes.
then crack on.
Ian, I'm going to leave that to you to be. You're going to see your grandson win the.
I hope that, if he wins his game, which kicks off very shortly, then they've won the league. So that'll be lovely to see. A lot of my family going down there to cheer him on.
From all
And
of
can
us.
I just say, don't forget to raise your subjects in for future projects and items to talk about.
Okay, that's it. So anybody wants to come on the show, get in touch with us. We'll come and pick you up, drop you home, but really appreciate your time. Remember, it's about you. It's about local people, local issues, and we're your voice.
And don't
Okay,
forget,
guys.
May 7th, elections next week.
Yes. And thanks for joining us tonight on a conversation with Neil Stevens, episode 44. Amazing. We'll see you next week. And as Tony said, really looking forward to next week because it's election night. Look forward to seeing you all then.
Respect the place that you call home.